life without Joel Embiid, the reigning MVP, for about 6 to 8 weeks for the Philadelphia 76ers.
I mean, it's going to turn out to be important because it's not like Philadelphia was the number 1 or number 2 seed where they had a lot of buffer room. I mean, currently right now they're the 5th seed. They're only 2.5 games above Indiana from the 6th. But, I mean, more than likely the way that Philadelphia has been playing, I don't see how they can improve. I can only see them falling down. So, in my opinion, this is one of those situations where it's going to be get Joel back and just hope and pray that you can make some kind of run in the playoffs. If you're even in the playoffs, because, this team could go on some type of a slide. I don't think they're that bad of a team, where they would go on a slide. But I think we had these conversations before, if you took like an Embiid or a Jokic off of a team, what do they look like? And I don't know if this Philadelphia team is necessarily a playoff team without Joel Embiid on it. So I would probably go maybe like 3 weeks and see if they end up sliding down. And then maybe you take a bite, at the apple with some Philly-like future stuff. So, Munaf, before you go ahead and move on, I want to go ahead and go back to a discussion that we had. Maybe it was like 3-4 weeks ago. And then since we're talking about teams in the East, I wanted to talk a little bit, about the 76ers because you were just talking about them. And I think we were discussing, going ahead and holding off on messing around with Philly. But we were looking to go ahead and start maybe to go ahead and look at, maybe like a conference bet or even like a NBA, title bet, because we were kind of thinking like, when you take Joel Embiid off the floor, like it just drastically changes your team. And we were drawing, kind of a conclusion to, the Denver Nuggets, like would they make the playoffs if Jokic was out for, 6 to 8 weeks? This Philly team, they've won like 3 out of their last 18 games. They're going into, a really rough stretch. I mean, they got to play the Cavs tonight on Friday. Then they got the Bucks. Then they got Boston. At some point, we want to get ready to start pulling the trigger here, I think, on anything that would involve Philly, because the market right now, they're extremely sour. I'm projecting that they're going to lose their next 3 games in a row, starting with Cleveland, Milwaukee, Boston. And then I kind of want people to start looking and thinking about, going ahead and firing, because once the Embiid comes back, the odds are going to drop before he even steps on the court. So we kind of want to go ahead and we want to catch us at a high point here. And he's already been out, Munaf, like 4 weeks. He's supposed to be out 6 to 8. I'm guessing he probably comes back closer to the 6 mark. I don't think they're going to hold him all the way. I mean, if you look right now, the way Philly's playing, they're in a free fall. So they're going to have to get Embiid out there as soon as they possibly can. Hopefully, he's healthy enough.
You're right. I think that it depends on what the time frame is looking like for Joel Embiid to come back. But again, if he does come back healthy, this might be a team that we need to keep our eye on in the Eastern Conference, right? Because again, we talk about the top teams in the Eastern Conference, right? We just talked about Boston. All right, they're in a class of their own right now. They're having a lot of success during the regular season. Milwaukee, they're struggling right now. We're going to find out in these first couple of games if Doc Rivers and the Bucks have been able to figure it out or not. The other team is the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? So I think that when and if Joel Embiid does come back, he was a front runner for the MVP before he did get hurt. But when you have a guy like Joel Embiid on your roster, I think you always have a chance. I do like the moves that they did make at the trade letdown and in the buyout market with getting Kyle Lowry. So, I think I would still wait, because I think the odds are probably going to get better for the Sixers, because you did mention that their schedule is going to get a little tough. So again, when we talked about it, if they're able to stay around 500, stay within that top 6 seed until Joel Embiid comes back, there might be an opportunity for the Sixers team, to possibly make a run at least to the Eastern Conference Finals. So we'll definitely keep an eye on for that for the Philadelphia 76ers for sure. Another team that may be flying under the radar here, Sleepy, that you brought up that we may want to get some futures down on right now. I'll let you take the lead on this, because I think this is an interesting conversation right now, especially what's kind of transpiring in the Eastern Conference, where the Boston Celtics are starting to coast a little bit, right? I mean, they've pretty much locked up that number 1 seed. Milwaukee Bucks are, I think, pretty much cemented into that 2 seed. But you kind of go further down the list, there's a team in particular that I think that may present some great value right now, and I'll let you take it from here.
All right, so we had talked about maybe going ahead and putting some money down on the Philadelphia 76ers in a really good spot. And that really good spot, I think, is coming up here, Munaf. So Philadelphia has 10 games left. They're saying Embiid probably comes back in 2-3 weeks, which would leave Philadelphia with 5-6-4 games, somewhere in that area. But they have like a really easy stretch where they have a bunch of games that they can knock out in a row if Embiid
Mhm.
comes back for like the last 5 games. I don't think they're going to be able to go ahead and get the 6th seed because I have a feeling that they're going to lose the next 2 games. That's just my gut feeling. They have to play the Clippers and they have to play the Cavs. So let's say they lose those 2 games. They're now going to be like 4 games out of the 6th seed. So they're going to end up in a situation where they're going to end up in the play-in. But I think if they lose the next 2 games, we really go ahead and we take a look at them to go ahead and win at least the Eastern Conference. And I think you're going to get odds probably in the area of probably 25-1. Maybe you make a little pizza bet on them to go ahead and win the title. I think the sweet spot, Munaf, comes this weekend. Let's say they lose against the Clippers. Let's say they lose against the Cavs. The minute that they lose 2 games in a row, I would say hurry up and bet them because then they're going to start talking about this team's going to miss the playoffs, da 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 da. Embiid's going to come back, and they're going to start firing up the Embiid train. They're going to start firing up the news. How's he doing? How's his knee? Is he out there practicing? And the minute they start anticipating his return, those odds are going to diminish a little bit because it's Joel Embiid. He's MVP player of the league. So this weekend, if they get beat 2 in a row, or even whatever the case, let's say they split, maybe they win 2, then just go ahead and do it this weekend if that's what you want to do.
In fact, get Joel Embiid back here sooner rather than later. Hopefully before the playoffs start here, Sleepy.
I mean, we kind of discussed that in pretty much, I would say, in depth and in length that they were eventually going to have to fire up that conversation because at some point when you're in the slide like Philadelphia is, people stop going to the games. The fans lose faith in the team. And then the last thing you want to have happen is, your star player not there and the team lose faith in themselves. And I think that, like I said, like we probably had to bet this. I'm still going to say this weekend is the time to do it because if they lose their next game, it's going to be another 2 games in a row, and they're going to keep sliding down even more. So I would say let's just go ahead and do what I said. Let's do this on Saturday. If you're looking to go ahead and mess with Philadelphia to go ahead and win the Eastern Conference, I would do it then. And I think that that's going to be your best opportunity to probably get the best number possible because they're already starting to talk about Embiid's coming back. And look, if it becomes, hey, he's coming back next week, then you're going to start seeing people start heading to the betting window. So we want to beat that. We got a little chatter right now. Let's wait a couple more days, and then let's go ahead and let's fire on that wager if that's the wager that that you guys want. So not surprised. I would say Embiid probably comes back right around that timeline went off where you and I were looking, maybe somewhere around that Miami game. Maybe like 5-6 games left. I think they're going to go ahead and rattle off a bunch of wins there because Embiid's just that important. And then I think those odds, you're never going to see him again. So I would say let's do this on Saturday if that's what you're looking to do.